So okay. Okay, shall we start? Shall I start? No, what do you think? I start? Okay. Okay, so I think we're going to start now. So I'm Elisabetta Gualmini, the chair of the European Policy Ceramic Forum. I'm incredibly happy to see all of you here. Sorry for the delay, but we could not tell the President of the European Parliament not to come and say hello to the other group of people. So here we are. There's going to be a brief introduction by myself, and then with our moderator, Dr. Paul Rubich, here he is, okay? Some practical experiences coming from the world of ceramics, and then a panel on, the economic situation in which we are, on the challenges that we're facing at the European level. So, okay, so if we can close the door, please, and everyone is here, we can start. So, again, hello to everyone, the honorable colleagues, members of the European Parliament. Today I'm very glad to have, the President of the Emilia-Romagna Regional Government, Michele De Pascale. Thank you for coming. We have mayors, in particular the mayor of Sassuolo, which is one of the cities really dedicated to the industrial ceramic, and honorable member of the European Commission and all the authorities. Thank you for coming to the 31st edition of the Ceramic Days. So we all know the numbers in this room. That is the importance of the ceramic sector in Europe. The ceramic sector is absolutely one of the key pillars of the European economy. 200,000 direct jobs, almost the double with indirect jobs, more than 30 billions of added value, a champion of export, 80% small and medium enterprises, which means social cohesion and relevance for our, local territories. But as many of, European industrial sectors, there are incredibly important challenges on which we are talking about today, but that we have to face. And I want to be very clear. If our panel today is one as business as usual, this cannot work. Because today we are really speaking about life or death, of really a survival of a sector which has known also a fall in the production, 30% from 2021 to 2024, and which can eventually face a de-industrialization phenomenon which we cannot allow, because it means, of course, to close down companies and to fire people. So I think that the time has come not for ideological kind of hypotheses or solutions, but for very pragmatical and concrete ideas. And so I'm really happy that the European Commission is present, because we are going really to speak and to talk to the European Commission for and foremost. Actually, there has been a change of the agenda in the European, scenario. So we have to admit that starting from last January, with the competitiveness, compass, the clean industrial deal, the packages on simplification, the Accelerator Act, We will talk about it later on. So there has been the awareness that industry has to be protected, promoted, and sustained. But this is not enough, because there are at least 5 priorities for the ceramic sector which need to have a very concrete and quick solution. First of all, the ETS, the system of the ETS1 is not anymore bearable for the ceramic sector. So the cost of the ETS from 2026 to 2030 for the whole European ceramic sector is going to be more than 5 billion euros for companies. And what is really funny is that, the revenues from the ETS are going in speculation and not to compensate and support the sector. So this is a very simple solution that we can adopt and put on the table and put forward on the table, first of all. Also, the ceramic sector has decarbonized a lot. I assure you, the mayor of Sassuolo will tell you tonight. So the efforts towards sustainability has already begun from, decades. No employer in the ceramic sector wants to fight against sustainability, but we need a pragmatic way. We need, compensations for indirect ETS costs. Rumors say that maybe the ceramic tiles, sector will be included in the list of the compensated sector. So more than rumors. So we hope that this is going to be reality very soon. Third, the CBAM. There has already been a simplification and a revision of the CBAM. The ceramic sector is up to now excluded, but if the new CBAM is going to be integrated by a revision of the ETS in the sense of incentives, sort of discounts for export sectors, we can think about it. So we are interested, also because the system of the ETS is not bearable anymore. Then the ETS2, we have to reason about it. ETS2 for small emitters, this is going to be another kind of problem, another kind of challenge. For unfair competition, we want to be competitive. We want to play not only in a defensive way, but to be innovative. But we need fair rules and a common level playing field. We cannot bear the Indian aggression up to now, and the duties by the European Commission are incredibly low, and also with China, not everything is solved. So with, Trump's duties, tariffs, the Chinese overcapacity, which is a consequence, we cannot stay in the middle. We have to find a way out also for that. And finally, 5, the energy costs. So huge energy costs for a sector hard to abate. Because if we have had, the technologies for substituting natural gas, I would be happy, very happy. But up to now, it seems that we do not have full available technologies. So this is going to be a problem because we cannot, discharge all the increases in the energy costs to our clients because we have the unfair competition by third countries, and this is also another matter on which we have to talk. But I don't want to be pessimistic, so I want to close these very preliminary remarks talking about the beauty of the ceramics, both artistic one, we have also representatives of the artistic ceramics and the industrial ceramics. Ceramics is a synonym of timeless beauty, inspiration, passion, creativity, innovation, quality. Ceramics is made by natural elements, water, air, fire, earth. No two pieces of ceramics are identical, one with the other. I would like to stress the role of women in the ceramic sector. Very important also from a technological point of view, academic point of view, in decoration, in glazing, in scientific material study. So, and we meet ceramic every day in our everyday life. Let us think of a vase, in our apartments, or the tiles of our kitchen. And so today, with my staff, we were wondering on how to close this, preliminary speech, and we have come up with this kind of sentence with which I close down. So, if steel gives us strength, if aluminium gives us flexibility, and if glass gives us light, you know what? Ceramics gives us home. Thank you so much.
Elisabetta, thank you so much. And a very warm welcome in our European Parliament. It's our Parliament. We elected it, and we are happy that Europe is united and that Europe could also deliver. But of course, as you know, in European Parliament, we have more than 200 different political groups, and not all of them have the same opinion. So it's also a fight between political groups, what the outcome of policies will be. And therefore, I think it's clear that whatever we thought in the beginning of the European Union, that the 4 freedoms are the base of our work, and that we make out of 15 legislation, now 27 legislations, we should do one in simple and easy language. But on European level, we have so many very specialized lawyers which can go very much into the detail, and that's one of the challenges. How can we influence the European political decision making? And I always say there's a production level. It's a third level of the Commission, of the Council, which go into the details, who know exactly what's going on. It's a production of the legislation, and on the other hand, we have, of course, also the sales activities. European Parliament, the Council, they have to publish positive situation to get a good result in the next election. So it's a 5 years term where, of course, we have to deliver. And I myself, I'm Paul Rübig. I'm an entrepreneur myself. I am a blacksmith, an educated blacksmith. And, of course, I studied economics, and therefore it's clear that we have to deliver. I was more than 20 years in European Parliament, and I know this European machine quite well. And now I'm in the Economic and Social Committee, where I'm very specialized on research and science. And my newest hobby is deregulation, fighting bureaucratic burdens. And if I look back to the last 5 years in European Parliament, we all know that approximately 13,000 legal acts were put to the European citizens. We have at present 470 pending legal acts, legislative pending acts. We have 413 implementing acts and 57 delegated acts. So, you know, these 40,000 people working on European Parliament, it's quite a tough job. You have to go very much into the detail, and also in European Parliament with approximately 700 members, the specialization is very high. And I think that's the reason why for the industry and for the SMEs, it's very difficult to follow up what's happening. And so a lot of people are surprised when it gets into action, the legislation which was done, but normally then it's too late. That's the reason why I published the book, Emergency Preparedness, because we have a lot of legislation in place, which can really lead to serious problems in our daily business. And to be aware of this serious challenges, it's clear that we have to see how to get the overall legislative situation that we as citizens can understand why it's necessary to have it, and we should bring it to the point. I know that the Commission President van der Leyen also has announced to establish more than 160 projects within this legislative period. So let's see how the legislation will evolve, and through a report which we have written in the European Economic and Social Committee, we delivered now the omnibus directives, and I'm very thankful to the Parliament, especially to the ITRE and especially to Elisabetta, that this is taking serious to see where can we get rid of bureaucratic burden. As you know, environmental legislation was now decided to get it to the criminal law. So if there is an environmental problem, some of the people have to go into prison, which is not fun, which will also be a kind of hybrid war against our industry. So therefore, thank you so much for coming to Europe. You should all come much more and look much more to the things which are happening here. Elisabetta needs much more support from you, from all of you, because only if we get the right input, we can hopefully produce the right output. It's like in your companies, input, output, marketing, production, that's all the same on European level. So please help us also on European level to fight for the development of European Union. And therefore, I'm very happy that we also have the incoming president with us, Matthias Stalzer. He is for durable, circular and innovative ceramics for sustainable Europe and low carbon future. Please, it's now your turn.
Thank you very much. Can you hear me? Because the microphone is a bit far away from my mouth. It's screwed to the desk. So, good evening, everybody. Thank you, Elisabetta. Thank you very much, dear Paul, for the introduction. And let me get directly to the point. Ladies and gentlemen, imagine Europe without steel, glass, cement, or aluminium. We heard it from Elisabetta, right? This would mean no bridges, no infrastructure that we need, like windmills, no solar panels, none of the changes that we aim for and that we are working for today in Europe. And this is not just a dystopian fantasy, but that were to become reality if one part of ceramics, specifically refractories, were to disappear, right? So the task at hand is, what do we need to do to keep it? And if it were to disappear, then clearly all our resilience, our autonomy, everything we are proud of in Europe and everything we're fighting for would also cease to exist. Yet we have been embarking on a very bold journey of sustainability. This sustainability journey is not only, and most of the people just use it as an environmental term, but sustainability reaches far more than environmental. It's something economic. We have to be economic sustainable. It's strategic because it's not ending or starting today, but it reaches over a long time. And last but not least, it's also very, very important as it is the driver of the resilience that we need in Europe, even more than ever before if we look around of what's happening around Europe. Now, what I want to do now is I want you to look beyond the obvious, beyond the sustainability on the environmental perspective, beyond the windmills and the solar panels, but recognize the impact, the ceramics that my fellow colleagues here are producing and bringing into the market, into our daily lives, and understand what that means for us on three pillars. So first one, it's durability. Second, it's circularity. And the third one is innovation. So if we start with durability, and that's classical, the bricks, the tiles that you have been mentioning, the ceramic pipes, the core elements of the housing stock of the European Union, of all of our houses, they are the cornerstone of durability, lasting from easily decades to centuries, 150 years, housing. That translates the longevity into reduced resources, better total cost of ownership. If you build houses and they last 150 or 200 years, you're saving money on the long term. And again, if you remember, it helps with bringing the costs down, with making affordable housing possible, less energy usage in heating and cooling. It allows us as allies in terms of sustainability and circular economy. Those contribute. Second point, if you remember, the circularity. Circularity, we're not standing still in Europe. We are improving, right? Take the circularity of the industry. In refractories, we achieve today already, in average, 25% of circular materials. So that means a ton of finished products is made up of 250 kilos of a material that earlier was declared as waste, that was landfilled all over Europe, that had potentially an impact on the environment. But that is reused today. Best-in-class technologies are reaching 100% of recycled materials in products that go into creating steel, aluminum, glass, and other technologies. And if you bring this to the next level, then this clearly helps with reducing CO2, with reducing the need of energy in production and transforming waste into products. It again helps us on the sustainability part and on the resilience part, because we are less dependent in Europe on the outside of what is outside of Europe, because we use what we have on site. And last but not least, if we look at the innovation, innovation is at the core of ceramics. It's called a part of the ceramic DNA. The best example that we have in this part is the air and space industry. The air and space industry needs the technical ceramics that we have. But it's not only the air and space where we fly satellites into the space to see what the moons look like and the stars, but it's also the most advanced ceramics we use for the production of microchips. Those microchips, again, they feed into the robotics and into the artificial intelligence that we all hope so much for, that it will change the life, and where we still need a lot of things to be done until it really touches our realistic ground. So, as said, both are at the core of the innovation. And with this, again, we're feeding into a long-term sustainability and in the resilience, because it is on European grounds where this is happening. And before handing back over to you, dear Paul, I ask you one thing. If you think of sustainability, think beyond windmills. Think beyond the solar panels. Think of all the silent enablers that you take as granted when you pour yourself the coffee in the morning, when you sit in a beautiful warm house or flat, or when you watch TV over the satellite, or even you have internet over the satellite. Think of the silent enablers that make Europe and the European industry possible, and that they make us possible to drive sustainability and resilience forward. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen.
Yes, Matthias, thank you so much. I remember as I had my small children with 7 years, there was a movie in the TV station called Teletubbies. You know, it's the one with antenna on the top, and they had a TV in the breast, and at 7 o'clock in the evening, I told them, now we look Teletubbies, and they were always very happy. And in the background of the Teletubbies were always windmills. And the windmills, by end of the movie, it started to get slower and slower, and then the screen pixeled, and then I said, no energy, you have to go to bed, sleep well. Huh? Yes. So our children were trained for the situation on when windmills don't run and solar panels don't work. So it's a sleepy time, and therefore it's clear that energy policy plays a key role for the future. And of course, my message is, after a long-standing making energy policy, we need more energy production facilities. President Trump now decided that for the permission of energy production units, the administration has exactly 28 days to accept it. So 28 days for a nuclear power plant, for whatever is done in the United States, the permission will take 28 days. So how should we stay in competition with this? Or a depreciation in free choice of the companies. You can choose your own depreciation. Or the taxation, the corporate tax, down to 15%. And, that's really a competition to our European society. So the competitiveness will decide about jobs and about the taxation which politicians can use for social, cultural, and other very important activities. If we have no industry, we have no tax, we have no jobs, and poverty will be not a good solution for all of us. So it's very clear that if competitiveness is not in the middle of our strategy, we will get a serious problem. But we don't like to be negative. We want to be also positive. So I'm very happy that Graziano Verdi is with us, the president of the European Ceramic Tile Manufacturers Federation and CEO of the Italsa Group. Yes, we are very happy to have you, and please go ahead.
Thank you, Paul. Thank you, Elisabetta, for the nice introduction. And I have to say that after your speech, also, Elisabetta, I was intending, we planned to present a lot of numbers showing the decline of the ceramic, but I need to be positive, so we don't show the numbers, because the numbers are not very good. I would go to some points that I believe are more important. And I would just mention to you a meeting that I had a few days ago with a journalist, a good one, from an important economical newspaper, that he didn't realize that when we speak about emission, we don't speak about CO2. So, and all the measure, and all the measure that we took regarding, we took as European, I want to say, regarding ceramics, the ETS. Unfortunately, we have to admit and to say that it was a big mistake, because the European ceramic is the most, let me say, environmental friendly products in ceramics. And considering that the use of ceramic is worldwide very important, and in Europe is employing more than 200,000 people, and directly and indirectly probably we are close to 400,000, with revenue, just direct revenue of almost 34 billion euro, I think that we have to assume that now the time has to change. The example you just made, Paul, regarding President Trump, but we are speaking about the most important economy in the world. If they are moving fast, we cannot go slow. We have to be faster. Of course, with our way, with our democracy, with our system, but we have to be quick. So I would just stress this point that, in my opinion, are important in order to not assist to the disaster that even Elisabetta was mentioning, and to be optimist. We have to be able to get the compensation on the ETS. We have to stop the TS2. It's really crazy things. And we have to be able to act against the unfair competition. The unfair competition, I would like to remember you that what is giving the fact that people with no right is working in many countries. In many countries they are working not with natural gas, that of all the hydrocarbon is the best one, because still, anyway, in the transition period, in my opinion, important. But they use a form of energy that we used 20 years ago with 10 times more emission. And I believe that even this aspect of the unfair competition have to be touched differently from now. European Commission did many years ago something very good against China, and we saw the effect with China, also thanks to the extraordinary job that is being done in Confindustria Ceramica in Italy. We win this battle, and the Chinese doesn't export importantly in Europe because the compensation of the duty was important to keep the market. With the Indians, I just want to tell you that we apply a 7% duty on someone that is selling under cost, and this decision brings the Indians from almost zero in 2020 to have today more than probably, I think that when we are speaking, they will be already between 8 and 9% of the total market, with price that everybody knows that are under cost. But with the system they have, it's very difficult for us to calculate what is the percentage of the true, because I remember that I spoke with a producer that was inviting me to do a factory with him, and he told me very clearly, when I say, but no, it's dangerous for us, because if we do an alliance with you, there is the risk of the European Commission. I was provocating him. Of course, it was not interesting to do a factory in India for the reason I mentioned you. I was provocating him, saying, they will detect you, they will stop you. No, Mr. Verdi, don't worry. 50% of our business is black, so they will never find it. So I want to close this point saying that the urgency of the measure are important. I think that from our side we've been, of course, giving all elements in a very strong evidence also to the work of Confindustria Ceramica, of all my colleagues, and I believe that this time is time to act. Okay.
Yes, thank you so much. I think it's the right thing to see the global challenges and geopolitics getting more and more important. We all know that multilateral organizations like the World Trade Organization over the years gave us a lot of freedom in global markets. But now we have seen that the United States has a big problem with very high deficit, and so the president and his team is looking how to compensate. And so, of course, we all know tariffs always have to be paid from the consumers. So inflation is a high risk on the one side, but the over-evaluation of the dollar was the other problem, because the dollar is a reserve currency for the world, and so they had to cope with a very difficult competition situation in the world. So, of course, in the WTO, the base was to come to zero tariffs, but, which is very important, with reciprocity in trade defense. So how can we keep this global competition still open, because we have a lot of positive effects from the global competition, especially with all the value chains. But as you said, unfair competition is not the right way to get our industry and our SMEs to a success story. And, you know, for the politicians, the success story is that they are still able to pay tax. A lot of people forget where the tax comes from, where the billions in the political level are spent. So, but we always should look for the balance, and the balance between economic question, cultural questions, namely a lot of issues which we have every day on the table. And I'm very happy that the member of European Parliament, Radan Kanev, is with us. He is from the ENVI committee, the Environmental Committee. I think it's the strongest committee in the European Parliament. So for policy decision, the ENVI committee has a very powerful decision making. And he was also rapporteur in the review of the Industrial Emissions Directive, and he understands well the weight of environmental regulation on European industries, such as ceramics, and the first industry to be subject to a review of the ceramic BREF after review of the EID. My question is the current pace of simplification fast enough to reverse the current trend of deindustrialization and loss of taxation for our citizens?
Mr. Moderator, it's just, we are entering the panel now, so we can invite the other panelists to join the desk.
Yes,
as well.
good.
And that would be the President of the region of Emilia-Romagna, Michele De Pascali, and Laurence de Richemont, who have to come. Yes.
Thank you so much. So,
thank you very much for the invitation above OLs. It's really an honor to be here. Just a brief remark. I would consider in the previous term, ENVI was, as you say, the most influential committee in the European Parliament, and now it's ITRE. And therefore, in the new term, I'm sitting also on ITRE. I kept the ENVI position, but I also am an ITRE substitute, so I have also another perspective in this term on the simplification processes and to upgrading the environmental policy with industrial policy, which is absolutely necessary, as already remarked by the previous honorable speakers. Going directly to your question, yes, the ceramic industry has the honor and the great risk of being the first subject to the BREFs under the revised Industrial Emissions Directive. And as we see, the European Commission is trying to make a showcase out of it and to put enormous ambition into this BREF, maybe unreasonable ambition in certain aspects. But as we all know, in Seville, it's a negotiation process, and I hope that the other stakeholders, member states, including mine, Bulgaria, but certainly Italy and Spain, most of all, together with the industry and scientific community, will find a balance. And the outcome will be better than the initial Commission proposal, which is, I consider, too severe as requirements for the ceramic industry. Then moving to simplification, I think there are different levels of what we call simplification now. And sometimes even policymakers get confused on what is simplifying. But first thing was already clearly mentioned. It's the permitting process. That if the permitting process continues to take years after years for rather simple industrial processes, this makes investment in Europe not the wisest decision on behalf of the industry and puts Europe's competitiveness at stake. Here, I must say that what we observe is that, unfortunately, all the speeding up of processes set in existing EU-level legislation is hardly implemented in national level. And it's implemented in various ways in different member states, which makes investment in Europe once again a bit precarious business. And one thing that was now raised by many colleagues in view of the forthcoming environmental simplification omnibus was the digital permitting. And here I must underline that when we discussed the Industrial Emissions Directive, there was a broad consensus on digital permitting in the European Parliament. all the rapporteurs and shadow rapporteurs and ITRE committee as advisory committee. Everybody wanted to put an accent on digital permitting, but the member states didn't want to hear of it. They said it's a thick red line in the trilogues, and they even refused to discuss it. They said it's a national matter, but if we look at national level, it's not implemented almost anywhere. So there is a resistance from our own governments, and we have to turn also our attention there. I'm sure that when we start working on the environmental simplification legislation, digital permitting will be once again a parliament priority. But this time we need to fight harder with the Council in order to get something out of it. Apart from permitting and digital permitting as particular case, we have the permitting procedures for innovation and emerging techniques. It's something on which the new Industrial Emissions Directive has good provisions. They can be improved, so that's another step of simplification that I hope will be taken. But what was mentioned about the few weeks deadlines in the US, that's really another world from European perspective. We need to move further to ensure that innovative techniques really receive at least initial fast-track permits to start working in Europe, because otherwise we will continue losing innovation. So I propose I stop here, because I can go also on the planning, transformation plans, reporting, etc., but it will take too long, and I must leave the floor to the other panelists.
Yes, thank you very much. I think you have chosen the right approach, because as we know, the digital permitting is a crucial question for efficiency. And we all know that our regional governments, the national government, the juridical situation, they have too less people, too less money, and they are overwhelmed from the European legislation. And so therefore the question of subsidiarity is coming up again very strongly. What is really necessary and affordable. And therefore we know that in Kosovo, I think they got now the first minister for public procurement who is purely digital. So a digital minister who makes a decision on public procurement is something new as well. But we see that the trend of permitting should be efficient and in a competent form, and not leading to a juridical century of decision-making where a lot of costs, a lot of personnel, and which we can't afford anymore by the reduction of the tax because industry is going out of Europe. So therefore, it's clear that we have to see how we can do better, and the best choice is, of course, always to have somebody from the regions. And I'm very proud that the president of Emilia-Romagna, Michele De Pascale, is with us, because he could be in future the champion of subsidiarity. We have to look what is really necessary on European level, and what can we put back to the mayors and to the regional presidents. Please.
Good evening, everyone, and thank you for the kind invitation to join this important discussion. As a president of one of the most densely industrialized areas in Europe, I want to highlight what is truly at stake today for our industrial districts, especially in the ceramic sector, in this moment marked by energy crisis, geopolitical instability, and the new European regulations. If we do not act swiftly at EU level, we risk compromising a pillar of industrial excellence and employment, not only for Italy or Emilia-Romagna, but for all the entire continent. The ceramics industry in Emilia-Romagna is a cornerstone of both our regional and national economy. Over 18,000 direct employees, more than 80% of Italy's total ceramic production, and a fully integrated supply chain that brings together large corporations and small and medium-sized enterprises, cutting-edge technologies, and a strong export vocation. Upstream, the sector is supported by a highly specialized ecosystem, including the design and manufacturing of ceramic machinery, skills that are unique and deeply rooted in our territory. We have invested heavily in logistics and intermodality. The port of Ravenna, historically central for importing raw materials, has been upgraded and its seafloor made significantly deeper, and it is now at the heart of a major container investment for exports to the Far East. We are also expanding all rail freight connections. Our region is well connected with both Adriatic and Tyrrhenian ports, making Emilia-Romagna an ideal logistic hub for industries aiming to compete on global markets. In short, let me say, Emilia-Romagna is a natural place in Europe to invest in advanced manufacturing and ceramic innovation. And yet, this excellence is under serious pressure, not because of a drop in quality or innovation, but due to unsustainable energy costs, the increasing burden of the ETS system, and international competition that does not meet the same environmental and social standards. Gas prices in Italy are consistently higher than in other countries. The ETS system, which requires companies to purchase carbon dioxide emission allowances, translates into the 15% increase in natural gas costs. That's hundreds of millions of euros annually, diverted from strategic investment, as shown by a 20% decline in industrial investment in 2024 alone. One point must be made very clearly. Our ceramic district is home to some of the world's most advanced and sustainable companies. Modern plants, digitalized processes, heat recovery system, responsible resource use. Our production model is among the most virtuous in Europe. Penalizing these companies with disproportionate environmental costs means holding back those who led the green transition, handing a competitive advantage to extra EU manufacturers as China, India, or Turkey, countries where environmental and social obligations are far less stringent. In doing so, we weaken the European industry, and we are going to increase global emissions rather than reducing them. The risk is real. Loss of competitiveness can lead to offshoring, closures, and the disappearance of high-skilled jobs. We must not allow the green transition to become industrial desertification. Emilia-Romagna has shown that it is ready to do its part. Our ceramic district is a global leader in sustainable technologies. The sector has embraced the challenge of the European Green Deal. Carbon dioxide emissions per square meter of product have halved since the 90s. In the past decade, companies have invested over 4.3 billion in product innovation, technology, and environmental sustainability. We are asking Europe to act with urgency and clarity on two key fronts: structural reduction of energy costs through shared policies and support tools for energy-intensive sectors, a thorough revision of the ETS system, which currently penalizes industries that have already invested in sustainability and risk undermining the transition itself. A strong and coherent European industrial policy to ensure fair conditions across member states. Effective instruments against environmental and social dumping by non-EU countries. targeted and accessible EU funds to support all size enterprises in their green transition. To conclude, the ceramics industry is part of the solution, not of the problem. It is a sector that has already reduced emissions, improved efficiency, innovated, and remained globally competitive. Europe cannot afford to lose this strategic asset. We need rules that are fair, balanced, and truly sustainable for all. Thank you.
Yes, thank you so much. I think if we look to the geopolitical situation, that Europe is producing maybe 7% of the CO2, it's getting more and more important to look where is the CO2 coming from on the globe. And we would need much more metrics on CO2 and a mapping of CO2. Where is it allocated, and at least the real heavy CO2 production should be the focus of the activity. And therefore, it's clear that if we look to Elon Musk, who got now as emission trading, I've read, per year 2 billion euros, which our industry, car industry, has to pay for buying the emission rates. So you easily can produce a car if you only have to put the signature and the other ones have to produce cars. So this global competition will play a key role. And of course, we have many NGOs on European level, non-governmental organizations who are very happy to fight for interests which are coming from outside of European Union. So it's very clear that we have to be very careful with all the advisory and studies which we do, that they are in real European interest. And that's the reason why we need you. We need you to check, as I always say, from artificial intelligence to human intelligence. We need your human intelligence to get the legislation into the right direction. And I'm so happy that we have a star with us, to say so, because reducing bureaucratic burdens is one of the top priorities of European Union. And it's clear that we have to respect the framework, that a lot of legislation which was done has also very positive effect. But we also have to see how the competitiveness of European Union, together with a leading strategy in the global environmental policy, could be combined. And so I'm very happy that Mrs. Lawrence Richmond is with us. She's a deputy director and head of unit from DG GROW. And you know, DG GROW loves SMEs and industry. And so she's our partner, and we're very happy to have you. Please.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for inviting me to this important event. And all what I've heard is indeed very important. And I'm really happy to hear this despite all the challenges. I think it's very important for us, the Commission, to be able to try and address those challenges, even if I'm not going to reply to all the points made today. But just to explain maybe why the simplification agenda is so central to the Commission now. So it's become a key priority for the second mandate of the Commission. Why? First of all, as you all know, the global landscape is evolving fast, more protectionism, more hard power. That means also more competitive pressure on industry in general, and in particular the ceramic industry, as you all pointed out today. It also means that the evidence we gather from stakeholders, business in general, SMEs in particular, is that there is too much regulatory burden on them. I think it's like 60% of businesses which see regulation as an obstacle to investment, and like 55% of SMEs which consider that regulation is their main challenge. So this is a challenge for us as well. It means we need to rethink the way we regulate. So that's a little bit the why we are doing all this simplification agenda. Now, what is it about? it's about making business easier, and this is to reinforce the EU's global positioning in the current very challenging international environment. So we want to simplify the EU rulebook. We want to reduce admin burden on companies, 25% for all businesses, up to 35% for SMEs by the end of the mandate, and we even have a measurement of this, which is 37.5 billion euros of admin burden saving by the end of 2029. We also want to make sure that simplification will be embedded in our wider strategy to boost competitiveness, and this is what we are doing by, as you said, trying to combine support to industrialization together with decarbonization, which is, as you also pointed out earlier on, it is already happening in most sectors of industry. We want to support this, and we don't see a contradiction in this, as was also highlighted by the Draghi report in particular. So we've adopted our competitiveness compass earlier this year. We've adopted our clean industrial deal as well, and now we are rolling out the implementation. A third element, we want also to see simplification as a foundational enabler, so to say, meaning that fewer hurdles for companies mean faster scaling up of companies. It also means a stronger industrial base, and it means, in the end, greater economic sovereignty. So this is a little bit what we want to deliver. Now, how are we going to do this, and how are we already doing this? We adopted earlier on this year in February a communication called Making Europe Simpler and Faster from February, and now we are trying to roll out what we have devised in this communication. You are all familiar with the omnibus packages that were adopted, up to 7 now, which means more than 8.6 billion annual savings for businesses. In particular, there was this Omnibus 1 on sustainability that you've been following. From the DG Grow viewpoint, we've adopted Omnibus 4 on SMCs, moving from paper to digital for product legislation, etc. We've adopted also an omnibus on chemicals. We're about to adopt an omnibus on automotive as well. And you also mentioned the upcoming environment omnibus, which will cover a number of areas, from waste to emissions, EPR schemes, so extended producer responsibility, and so on. So omnibus packages are one thing, but what we also want to have and see is more stakeholder engagement. We are doing this in particular via what we call implementation dialogues, meaning that the President von der Leyen has asked each commissioner to have at least 2 per year implementation dialogues at the highest level of CEOs. We actually had one this morning with EVP Stéphane Séjourné on construction, and I think some of you attended, by the way. So I think it was, I didn't attend myself, but the feedback I had was that it was rather positive in getting direct feedback from construction stakeholders. You may know that we are also about to adopt as a follow-up a housing construction strategy still this year, so later on in December. We want also this further stakeholder engagement via what we call the reality checks, which are reality checks at the level of companies, meaning not necessarily the big organizations at EU level, but really companies that are acting on the ground, in the regions, and so on. So stakeholder engagement is really important for us. Ensuring results, that is one of the objectives. You have mentioned the upcoming Industrial Accelerator Act. So yes, indeed, we want to ensure results on faster permitting. We want to ensure results on made in Europe. We want to boost demand for clean and made in Europe products in some of the strategic sectors, technological sectors, and so on. And first and foremost, we also want to change what I would call the regulatory mindset or regulatory culture. For instance, we have already adopted an SME check that we want to implement before each new proposal. We have also adopted an enhanced competitiveness check. It means we are looking at the so-called health check of a sector, looking really at the implications of our proposals on a given sector. So this is a little bit the picture that we are covering. Now, how can we accelerate this? I think this was also part of the questions that were raised in that context. And how can we make sure that this agenda will be fully rolled out? I would give the example of the Commission work program for 2026. So for next year, more than 50% of our proposals will be focusing on simplification. You mentioned procurement. We are going to adopt a completely revised Public Procurement Act. We are going to also come up with a European Product Act covering market surveillance, standards, the new legislative framework with a lot of simplification on board. We also have a new EU Delivery Act coming up, which is about simplifying not only postal services, but the delivery, parcels delivery, and so on. Of course, omnibus negotiations with co-legislators is key for us, and we want to ensure that this will go on fast. So let's say the close cooperation with the current Danish presidency and the upcoming Cyprus presidency are absolutely essential. But we also need to have member states on board. I think it was also mentioned. It's not only the simplification agenda, it's not only about the Commission putting forward proposals and then we see what happens. I mean, it's also about making sure that implementation and enforcement of our legislation on the ground is really happening in member states. And here I could take the example of the single market strategy. The single market is key for all of you, I guess, for all of us actually. And we have identified what we call the terrible 10, which are the most critical 10 obstacles to the good functioning of the single market, and we want to address this. We're addressing this with member states. We have, for instance, the Single Market Enforcement Task Force, where we talk to member states, where we look at each and every obstacle and how to, let's say, overcome it. But as I also said earlier on, we need the input from all stakeholders. So I will conclude by this, saying that maybe one key element of this simplification agenda is really ownership. Make sure that we have ownership of this simplification priority, not only by the Commission, by the EU institutions, but also by the member states and by all the actors and stakeholders in general, and by the regions, of course, as well. Thank you.
Bravo. Yes, of course.
Okay, no, because the issue about the omnibus environment is very, very important for us. So it is true it's going to be presented before Christmas, and if there is also a possibility to put into the package also the ETS, or if we have to wait for the revision of the ETS, because there were rumors that eventually the ETS could enter into the omnibus environment. So,
well, thank you for the question, and let me be very cautious about my reply, because, as I said, I mean, I'm talking from the DG Grow viewpoint. So, of course, we are following this very closely, but DG Environment is in the lead for the environmental omnibus. Actually, yes, indeed, it is planned to be adopted by the end of this year. Discussions are still ongoing. We are following this very closely. Our colleagues are working together, but I'm afraid I can't say much more. And on ETS, I understand that I will have a colleague from DG Klima also joining later on, or is it?
I hope so.
I hope so. Okay, because in any case, if this colleague joins, he or she would be much better placed to talk about the ETS revision. Okay. But it's noted. I mean, well noted, the points. Thank you.
That's important. Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Laurence. The Austrian trade minister was some weeks ago in United Emirates, and they learned that the United Emirates have done all legislation into artificial intelligence, large language models, and checked how from the lowest level to the top level they could simplify the legislation. And so they made a big progress in making it sound and to the targets, but in an easy and good national language so that everybody could cope with what it is. So I think that's also something that, of course, the artificial intelligence can make something wrong and don't understand everything into the detail. But human intelligence, like you, who knows the dossiers, who really know how to, and the combination between artificial intelligence and human intelligence could bring us from the local administration to the regional administration, the national, the European and the global legislation could bring a very good result for all of us. So the European Economic and Social Committee has published also some studies, and through artificial intelligence I checked 12 points, which for the process is very important, and I officially now hand it over to you because on your level we can fight and we can win, and so many thanks for you for looking on SMEs and industry to get it done into the right way. Then I come, of course, to the Cerame-Unie President and CEO of Wienerberger, Dr. Heimo Scheuch. I know he's very active in understanding European level quite well. My question is, how would you describe the current regulatory and geopolitical context, and what is required to restore a favorable business environment?
Thank you, Paul, and thank you, Elisabetta, for being here. Let me start with a very personal remark. I'm 30 years in the ceramic industry, 30 years. My heart is ceramics. And I love it. I'm passionate about it, and I'm a passionate European, even if we have a lot of operations outside of Europe as well. But what I must say also is 25 years I come to the Parliament. 25 years I deal with Commission. I deal with the administration. However, I must say it remains very challenging. Very challenging. It's interesting that we sit here tonight again. Why? Because actually what we are doing in industry, we are entrepreneurs. We are looking for opportunities. We want to invest in the future. But what do? We fight 80% of our time with administration and with bureaucracy? Thank you very much. Thank you. There's nothing more to say. That's what we do. Is this the right approach? Is omnibus the right approach? Is simplification the right approach? You should spend 80% of your time with us to encourage us to invest more, to do more, to create jobs. That's all what I can say. Do I want to discuss with you if this legislation comes before Christmas or after Christmas? Certainly not. Sorry. It's a waste of time for me. If you cannot provide me or my colleagues or the industries with a stable legal framework, nobody's going to invest. If this whole system works with fear, with threat, with all sorts of negative things, nobody's going to invest. Stop it. Sorry if I say this bluntly in front of everybody. Stop listening to the NGOs. Talk to us. We are not in fear. Our company, for example, last year we invested 600 million euros in the EU for better technology, for all sorts of positive things like innovation, etc. 600 million. We do believe in Europe. We want a Europe that is competitive. But I tell you honestly, there are a lot of people who don't believe in Europe and want to make it a rotten place. And I don't believe in this. And I fight till the end of my day for a better Europe, honestly. But entrepreneurship is the basis of everything. This Europe can only survive because there's industry. You said it, job creation, tax payments, etc. If we don't pay attention to this, we'll lose every day. It's too late in a certain aspects already because some industries have left. We are also under huge pressure here. But emergency measures need to take place if there are crises. The energy situation, I call it not energy crisis, it's a very particular situation. I don't say you, we are all responsible for it because Europe is responsible for this, that we have this energy crisis and this situation. We all work towards it. I'm not saying that the Green Deal is wrong. I'm just saying under the geopolitical situation with all the wars and everything going on, we cannot go in the direction always this way and say we just continue. No, stop, think. We need to survive. We need to be competitive. Otherwise, the others do what they want. Sincerely, I pay everybody who is open-minded a ticket outside the EU. There's a different world out there. Very different. The access to energy, cheaper, labor, restrictions, sustainability reporting, all sorts of legislations. They don't care. Can you control what comes into our ports, into Europe? No, definitely not. You think you can, but it's not true. There's a lot of things coming in. And it's very difficult for us to compete in such environments. So my plea is only, actually I can go on with all details for ages, but at the end of the day, it's a psychological thing. You need to create a positive environment where people invest. And you trust in a legal framework, you trust in the political stability, then they come. And also outside from Europe to invest here. Because a lot of people pull out of Europe, actually, because they say, I'm not going to invest in this place. Yeah? So this is the major thing. I strongly appreciate all sorts of activities, and I see this increasing, as you say, a lot of activity. But sometimes it's actually better to do less. Yeah? Give us only a level playing field where we can survive, where we can do things and do them calmly, and give us the opportunity, for example, in this very critical period, when we talk about regulation, we have done our analysis for the ceramic industries. If we continue with this pace, we have cost increases up to 40%. And this is unbearable for a lot of SMEs. So again, I think we should pause here and say, listen, let's try to focus on the essentials. How do we get this sector through the next couple of years and make it a very, very strong industry? Because, as you said, Elisabetta, we are pillars of industry. We have technology here. It's not about only the direct industry. It's also the whole suppliers, the technology, universities, all people. And there are a lot of young people who look for jobs and want to be in such an industry. And so let's give them a chance and an opportunity also to work in a better place tomorrow. Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Heimo, so much. We also have good examples what from outside of NGOs are transported to European legislations is environmental social governance. You know, from principle and from ideological, it's a very good task because we can see how is the competition between environmental standards, social standards, governance standards, and to increase all these very nice activities. But if you look to the details, first of all, it's a business model for the consulting industry. So it's more or less the same as in international financial regulation standards, which one company you need to get the right figures into your balance sheet, and another company will check you. So as an example, Ernst & Young will help you to make the balance right, and Deloitte is checking you if Ernst & Young has done it right. So these companies had now the idea that it's too less information if they only get figures on dollars and euros. So they said, okay, we need a legislation that everything which you can measure in a company, cubic meter, gigawatt hours, kilobytes, and whatever, you also have to do in the same way like the EFS. So it's a multi-billion US dollar business to make this second bookkeeping for all details, 800 points which you have to report in a report. And I always ask, why do we need this? And the truth is, of course, all this we have to pay for, so our companies have to pay for, in their own company to have the people who are doing it. You have to pay Ernst & Young to help you to bring it into the right form. You have to pay Deloitte to do it and check it. And then the key question comes up, who owns now the data? The data which we have put into the system, what will they do with this data? And I found out that maybe it's a big chance that this data goes to the hedge funds, to maybe Vanguard or wherever, or BlackRock, and they make an analytical study in which area European companies are not competitive. So where are the environmental costs too high? Where are the social costs too high? Where are the governance costs are too high? And then they ask the CEOs of the stock exchange listed companies and say, sorry, why do you produce in Europe? Come to United States, come to Asia, go wherever it's cheaper, better, and makes more chance of profit for our pension funds because we have to run our pension funds. Set practical examples where it was meant well, but what will come out will be a big problem for all of us. So making this more attractive, we also got... Yes.
And if you have it on your has to apologize.
Okay. So we got Tom from Ireland, head of unit DG Climate. Where is he?
So he's here.
So please come up. Thank you so much. You are doing a wonderful job. Thank you for the help. So, thank you for joining us. How can the European Union climate policy be more adapted to the current context of energy and industrial crisis and bring more simplification and predictability to local energy-intensive industries and SMEs? You know all these questions quite well, and what you have heard now, what could be your impact to make the situation more successful for the industry, for the jobs, and for the taxpayers?
Yes, thank you for that. I was all the time here, but the table was full, and I'm happy to be here now. And I wanted to also say that thank you for inviting us. Thank you also for giving, in a way, an opportunity to hear from both sides what are the challenges and opportunities. I heard a few elements today about challenges, and I mean, they're well noted. I think today I will also try to talk about the opportunities, because I do think we all agree that you have a sector that has a lot of prospect, and you have a sector that is indeed innovative in the way that it not only is decarbonizing, but also provides products that can be used in sectors that themselves give decarbonization solutions. So that's well recognized, and as such, that's certainly a sector which we feel like being at the core of, well, industrial policy in Europe. That gets us back to the initiatives being developed under this Commission, and I think with the Clean Industrial Deal there is certainly a focus on trying to get the right enabling environment for industries to prosper, to be competitive, but also to decarbonize. And I think that's a bit the interaction that we are trying to establish. Today I will not intervene on the details of the ETS and its future review. I think you've noted that we have had a public consultation out, and there is a review foreseen for ETS one next year. I just wanted to give the remark that I'm not aware that the environmental omnibus is about that. That is, of course, only for next year when we are reviewing the ETS. A number of elements I wanted to talk about was the enabling environment. And I think one element of that is lead markets. And I actually would love to hear from you how you see lead market development. There are a number of initiatives in EU legislation that we think can help lead market creation also in your sector. And I think in the end, the energy performance of building directives is of key importance, because there are provisions that from 2030 onwards for new buildings, 2028 actually for buildings that are government buildings, you will need to calculate, well, basically the carbon footprint of the building over the lifetime. With that, the focus will shift a bit from just decarbonizing the operational emissions of a building towards also the emissions when the products that constitute the building are produced. We think that's a measure that in principle should be able to create incentives, create interest in having low carbon products in your sector. There was a clear call for making sure there is access to energy and access to the kind of, you could say, infrastructure that allows you to decarbonize. I think also there the Commission has a strong focus in improving a number of conditions that allow decarbonization. Maybe to give a few examples, carbon capture and storage under the NZIA, Net Zero Industry Act. We are looking at developing 50 million tons of storage capacity in the EU by 2030. And our colleagues in DG ENER are still looking at the need to take additional regulatory steps in the context of developing the CCS infrastructure in Europe so that companies actually have access to it. Another element raised there is grids. There is an upcoming grids package. There is a recognition that planning is key. And from the side of DG Klima, we always stress that the national energy and climate plans are an investment plan. We need to plan, we need to create conditions, we need to give clarity to the decarbonizing sectors, how and where to get access to that kind of infrastructure. Just to say that we realize the importance of that on the side of the Commission, just to give an example, under the MFF proposal, we have suggested to increase the budget for infrastructure spending under the CEF, the Connecting Europe facility, for this type of low-carbon infrastructure 5 times. So just to say that we are well aware that we need to provide for and speed up, where possible, that deployment. That links also to permitting. I think it was raised on the side of industry. We have already indicated that the Industrial Accelerator Act, that's also an initiative that is still forthcoming, will, among others, look also at permitting in the context of decarbonizing industry. Focus was put already on energy prices. I think we have indicated that probably in the long term, the best way forward is to invest heavily in our energy system, but also in technologies where we can supply or provide them ourselves. And that's, of course, the link to the need for the deployment of renewable energy and also the need to further electrification in our economy. There was remarks of the need to make sure that, in a way, the ETS also helps industries directly with decarbonization efforts. And I think for DG Klima, that is an important element. We have a tool that does that. It's the Innovation Fund. The Innovation Fund has, under the current period, basically around 40 billion euro of means. And we are innovating in the way how we do our calls. And I would like to stress that. I know you're a sector that is not well represented in the Innovation Fund. We are coming up with a new call. I would still like to pay the attention that the call for small, I don't know the exact vocabulary, but anyway, the small company call within the ETS is, I think, of interest of your sector. but we will also come with an innovation, and that is to come with a heat call. That is coming with the next call, which I think is imminent. One of these days it will be launched. There was already a public consultation, so I hope some of you are already aware of it. And it will focus on how to decarbonize heat. And I think that is an essential part of the energy demand and the emission profile of your sector. We would like to continue with these kinds of calls. And we have indicated under the Clean Industrial Deal that we will come forward with an industrial decarbonization bank in the context of the ETS review, with the aim to mobilize 100 billion of finance. And one of the elements of that vehicle will be to go exactly towards deployment and not only to focus on innovation, which was indeed a key element of the Innovation Fund, but also to go forward towards helping deployment. It was, I think, already raised by the intervention of my colleague from DG GROW, but also to be clear, we have now the requirement under the ETS that 100% of the means raised by the ETS are investment in climate-related elements. Of course, that is more diverse than only industrial decarbonization as such, but we think it is certainly an opportunity to continue to see where one could have the means to also support industry to decarbonize. I'll leave it there, but I hope that you can understand that we see the approach for your sector as not single-minded, but one that requires an enabling environment to exactly allow your sector to participate in the transition, which I really like was stressed that you are actually doing. I do note also your company making very specific investments, allowing to prove that decarbonization is possible. And that, of course, is the first step, and then we need to go towards more wide-scale deployment. Thank you very much.
Yes, thank you so much. I still remember, as I was in the ITRE committee as a member of parliament, and I was also coordinator in the ITRE committee, we came up with the idea of the modernization fund. So putting all the money which we get out of the ETS into the modernization of the industry who has to invest. We all know that the finance ministers all over Europe are very greedy and try to take the money as much as possible for other activities. But I think for the midterm strategy, it would be quite good to see how can we get the money from the ETS to reach the target in this area. So therefore, it's clear that we have to do a lot. And, I have shown you my book, Emergency Preparedness, because I think in some way Europe is running to the cliff. And we should stop it before the crash will come. And running to the cliff means we should look into energy production, water production, and food production for a sustainable future. And of course, I gave your colleague from the Commission also the 12 points how legislation should be optimized and getting more clear for a good development. I have to go now to the presentation of the movie of my book because we made out a movie production. I want to give this book to Heimo because Heimo is very interested in European politics and what we can change. And I want to ask Elisabetta to take the chair and take the most important part of the meeting, the final. Thank you so much.
Okay. Maybe you come here. Yes. Yeah. Okay. So change of role and moderator. So okay. Thank you so much. I was particularly careful and attentive to listening to the representative of the DG Klima, but now we change a little bit of topics and we go to the last part of our panel, talking a little bit of housing and construction. And so we have the honor to have the Member of the Parliament, Vicente Marzà Ibáñez. He's Vice Chair of the Housing Committee. And this is a special committee which was put in place for the first time, actually, in the European Parliament in this mandate. And actually, the president is also a friend and a colleague of ours, Irene Tinagli. And so, really, I would like to ask you, how do you think we can tackle the housing crisis in Europe, and also what are the connections with the, of course, the ceramic sector, and also with the topic of affordable, housing all over our countries? Please, I give you the floor. Thank you.
Okay, so thank you very much to the organizers. As some of you will know, others not. I come from Castelló. As you can imagine, for us, ceramic industry is very important. We got 23% of our GDP just from ceramic industry. So imagine, for us, it's very central, and it's not only on economy, also in our identity. So thank you for having me here and to invite me here. So first, as Vice President on the Special Committee on Housing and a member of the INTA Committee also, I am committed to linking sustainable housing with strong industrial policy and, of course, putting ceramics on the middle, in the center. So starting with housing, our group has proposed amendments responding to the European Commission's Affordable Housing Plan, and our main goal is to guarantee the right of housing, which we don't see as conflicting with boosting the European industry. Instead, the new funds linked to the Affordable Housing Plan are a big opportunity for the sector. This is what we think, because renovating and building new homes creates demand for durable and local materials. That means creating demand for ceramics. So this would provide a sensible response in the European internal market in light of uncertain external trade conditions. So that would be very good. So for us, it's very important to enhance this affordable housing plan, also not only on the part of the right to housing, but also for the industry. Moreover, the Draghi report on our green proposal for the Clean Industrial Deal call for dedicated funding and feasible roadmaps to decarbonize sector like ours. So these include cutting energy and emission costs, supporting electrification, and promoting circular materials. So I wanted to introduce, just to let you know, that a pilot led by the sector on the Valencian and the Valencian government, when I was the regional minister, showed that electrification of some industrial ceramic furnaces is feasible and cost-effective. It can reduce energy consumption about 30%. So such innovations can help the ceramic sector to cut emissions and costs, strengthening both competitiveness and sustainability. So this pilot project, I think, is a clear example of what we want the Clean Industrial Deal to be: an ambitious project between industry and institutions to create an innovative ecosystem based on trust. Moreover, as we have some colleagues from DG Grow represented here, I want to take just one word on simplification. I think that there are also other minor legislative changes that could make life easier for ceramics industry, and I want to recall the sector's demand to harmonize the standards under the construction products regulation, such as anti-slip testing, because that is important also. If we want to simplify, this is one of the key issues that we have to turn. And then turning into international trade, if I may, because I'm also in the INTA committee, I think that this is very important. So Europe should welcome new partners, but never at any cost. As my group shadow rapporteur for the EU-India trade agreement, I must express our concerns about the direction of the ongoing negotiations. News reports suggest that the Commission may drop chapters or reduce liberalisation ambitions in the final stages. For example, some indicate that EU might not liberalise capital movements, certain raw materials, energy, or some agricultural goods. If that is the case, why not extend protections to other sensitive sectors such as ceramics? We firmly support forming strong alliances and partnerships but not by exposing critical industries like ceramics to unfair competition. This sector faces serious threats from India's import surge, which increased tenfold in 8 years, as Graziano Verdi explained it very well. So, to protect the European ceramics industry, we need also solid safeguards and quick responses. It is crucial to address non-tariff trade barriers and to speed up anti-dumping and anti-subsidy investigations. Our group proposed amendments on Omnibus 4 to shorten these investigation times. And additionally, the EU should extend overcapacity rules currently applied to steel to cover ceramics as well. This is what we propose, because strict rules of origin must be enforced to prevent circumvention, because we got some examples of circumvention affecting also ceramic industries. So these measures will ensure that trade is fair and does not undermine the resilience and strategic autonomy of the EU's ceramics industry. And just to conclude, I wanted to share that I believe that housing rights, industrial decarbonization, internal market simplification, and firm trade safeguards can all live together. This is not only possible but necessary to deliver affordable, sustainable homes and to protect our industries and jobs. So the housing crisis can thus become a driver for a clean, fair industrialization in Europe. And that's why we're working on this a lot. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, Vicente.
Welcome.
Thank you so much. So now we shift to the academia and to a very prestigious professor and architecture, Professor Massimo Iosa Ghini. It's an honor to have you at this table. I just want to remind you that after the contribution of Professor Iosa Ghini, there will be some space for 1, 2, or 3 questions. So I'm also kindly asking our representatives of DG Clima to stay, and then we will, of course, finish. So the question is more or less the same. So how can we combine affordable and sustainable housing? But I will add also another issue, that is how can we promote construction materials really made in Europe? How can you do it? Does this make sense or not? So thank you.
Okay, thank you for the question, and thank you for the fact that I am here, and I am really happy and honored to be here and to speak about what I know, that is architecture. And I see in Europe there are different levels of demand in architecture, because we have in one part of Europe a big demand, especially in the center of the cities, in the metropolitan areas. There is this idea that the architect Moreno, the French architect, launched some years ago, and there is this idea to walk for 15 minutes and in a certain way creating little countries, little cities connected and linked in a different way in the internal of a metropolis. But I think this could be a solution if I speak about urbanization. But if I speak about inhabitation, place where the people lives, the play is completely different. Because I think especially young people as the necessity, there is a big demand for inhabitation, and also the sensibility in the last years is really very, very increased in the sense of sustainability. Okay, the word sustainability is a little bit inflationated, no? But okay, but we have to say, we have to speak in this, because what's meaning sustainability could be a series of rules, and also just a minute to mention what Mr. Schock said before about the rules, about the fact that we are very full of rules, and also it's difficult also for architects to find the right way to arrive on a quality project, because at the end the driver is the rule. You have to imagine, for instance, Frank Lloyd Wright following the rule that we have in Italy. For instance, I mentioned Milano, but I can mention also Bologna. I think in the next year we will have probably an algorithm that give you the possibility to create an architecture without the architect. Okay, could be. I don't know. Is it dystopic scenario, but could be also. Now, what I want to try to answer to the question that Mrs. Gualmini gave me is that probably the point is not only the rules, is not only the technology, is not only the idea of to consume less. Is not only this. The point is also, in my opinion, to refound the way to make architecture in a classical way. What I mean is important to use the right proportion, the right materials, and also to have a vision of the inhabitation that is not only technique, but starting by the interior of the architecture, because in the interior the people lives. It's not only a problem of technique. What about materials? Now we speak about materials. In my opinion, okay, we are here in a context of ceramic. I cannot say that ceramic is not a good material, obviously. But I want to explain you, because I think really it's a good material, no? Because okay, it's not necessary now to say or to make an allocation of the qualities that this material has, but I think that in the world we have different kind of ceramic, no? Because we have Indian ceramic, we have China's ceramic, and we have also European ceramic. And what is the message? I think the European ceramic is different because it's a product made with a different quality, is a product that has a complete sustainability circle way life, and for this reason I think is a product that gives us the sureness of the utilization. And in my idea, when I do a project using ceramic, I will desire to have, and this could be something to ask in this convention. In my idea, the ceramic panels, the European ceramic panels, are to be, as you say, marked with something that we can call the made in Europe, because this gives us the sureness of we work with a product that has a good quality. About buildings, I told you, I speak before about the criteria that are necessary to use today to have a building with a certain quality. I think that for the first we have to use what is in a certain way classic way to make project, no? To work with the orientation of the building, for instance, that is something of forgotten. The light, the natural ventilation, no? And these are the first elements that we have to use to start with a new project. And also the second element is the fact to have a building where the materials are reversible or also demountable. And I know I say something that is not so in the fashion trend of architecture, but really I think it's important to try to use this kind of way of technologies. Also, speaking about trends in architecture, we have this biophilic trend, biophilic way to do architecture, integrating the green part with the artificial part, with the structure, no? And something, this is interesting, but in a certain way is something that is not so sustainable, no? Because you have to do an important maintenance, no? It's better, in my opinion, to use in a correct way the traditional materials. Another point is to make a project that is not a project of only an object, but planning for flexibility of use in the long building life. And to have also a different way to make projects using digital tools, for instance, to optimize energies and the material use. And the last point is maintaining coherence with the local culture, place, and also traditional techniques. What to conclude, I want to say that in Europe we have the most old patrimony of architecture, of historical and ancient architecture, and this gives us a sort of advantage because in a certain way we have in our DNA this idea of durability that is in my opinion, but not only my opinion, is the most important point in an architecture. To don't create something that in 20 years you lost it, you have to redo, but to create something that could run on the story, no? To have a perspective of 100, 200 years, and this is really something of sustainable. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you for this very last contribution. So I do not want that our representative of the EC goes away, so we'll keep him here. And actually there is the space for, one or two questions. What we have learned very practically is that, if I was right, so of course there will be this Accelerator Act from the industrial side, in particular for the energy-intensive sector. So the name has changed from Decarbonization to Acceleration Act. And then a public consultation for the revision of the ETS is going on, as far as I know. And so the revision will take place in 2026. So these are two very important news. Okay, so Renaud, si tu veux.
So yes. The previous meeting took all our time for the question and answers, so we have just time for 2 questions. Would there be someone? Johan van der Biest and
I have a very
Miroslav,
a very practical question. We know that the electricity grid in a number of countries is closed beyond 33, 34. We know there is no hydrogen and there is no hydrogen grid. And it's just a remark where we have to watch out that if we don't put the carriage in front of the horse and start to implement EPDB regulation and pushing into construction carbon neutral products, with a lot of companies who will never have the ability before 2035 to actually produce these things. That means if the SMEs have no access to any green energy before 35, and we implement all kinds of legislation and keep on decreasing the allocation of CO2 rights, the only thing we do is inflate costs, and make our industry less and less and less competitive. So the topic of the free allocations is an absolute urgent one, because it's very simple. The horse is green energy. The carriage is all the legislation you're developing, but there is no green energy. So watch out, because we are killing the industry at the moment, and it's something to reflect on.
Maybe we take the second one and then.
So I would like to, Mirosław Jaroszewicz from Poland. I would like to address the question to Mr. Massimo Guini. Just a few years ago, 6 if am I right, in Europe was recalled project New European Bauhaus. As we know, the principle of Bauhaus is a well-balance of triangle. One is technical functionality, another one is beauty, and the third one is comfort and affordability for people. And what I am interested in, you from the architecture, from the point of view of architect, how do you see if today's development of legislation is supporting, maintaining this balance, or maybe is pushing interest to the technical functionality?
In my opinion...
If we can ask for the answers to be also short, because we will have to leave soon. I'm sorry. But for both answers, please.
Excuse me.
Go ahead.
No, thank you. In my opinion, in the main point of Bauhaus, there was the philosophy that we have to follow also today, and about the rules that are creating now, I think they forget the third point. The fact that the people has to say well, and as I tried to tell you before, there is a concentration about the object, the building, the energy in the building, but at the end you forget just a little bit the point dedicated at the human people that has to stay inside this new architecture. Perhaps we have to suggest to underline and to think deeper to this part of these 3 points.
Thank you. A short reaction on the intervention on the EPPD and the need for infrastructure. I think how the EPPD would work is that early on you would be able to recognize if your product is less carbon intensive than another one. It is still the concept, and I think it was pointed out that EU industry is in general very energy efficient, so I think in general you also have then a good carbon footprint. So in that way I think the EPPD is meant as an incentive for being able to sell a product that is low carbon, and I think in the end of the day buildings will require still ceramics to produce, and I took the notion to be beautiful also. That is in itself not totally unimportant. Over time, it's true that the EPPD requires member states to develop, I don't know what the terminology is, but I think roadmaps to incentivize further decarbonization of the whole of the building. So that includes the operational part and the construction part. Again, that is meant, of course, to make sure that there is a market for those products. So I don't think it's meant as something that should kill your market. It's meant as something that should provide for a market of low and climate neutral products. Your comments on the need for infrastructure are well noted. I think this is an ongoing process also on our side. I think you referred to hydrogen, to electricity. As I said, I think CCS is also part of the answer there. You are a sector where there are process emissions. You are also a sector that if you would use biomass and you would combine it with process emissions, you might even potentially be a sector that creates removals. So we are actually creating a framework for carbon certificates for removal. So if you would have individual projects in your sector that would combine these things, that might be of interest. Then finally, I think that also links to the question on that you have multiple vectors to decarbonize. I think you highlighted them, a number of them, and a fourth one is actually also biogas. I think there are also clear policy initiatives in Europe to try to promote the further production of biogas, including the database being developed under the RED to actually stimulate that market. But okay, point well taken, we need to continue that work. There will certainly be a need for more infrastructure, need for better planning and more clarity in that context.
Thank you. I think
Renaud, c'est à toi de finir.
Oui, merci. So I have a logistic point, but before that, I think it's important that I say on behalf of the industry to Mr. Van Ierland that to ask him to give the message to all your colleagues in DG Clima who are dealing with the ETS, so of course the heads of units and Mrs. Jordi and Mr. Kurt van den Berg, but in the context that was described by our member, by Johan van der Beest, it is really not possible for the industry. It's not only for our industry, but it's not possible to have the benchmark reduction by 50% as it is planned in 2026. You understand that if everything is already so high, our energy costs are so high, it is completely suicide to impose on the industry again 30%. In practice, it will be a 30% reduction of free allocations compared to 2025. So for everything that we've discussed today, it's not happening now. The industry is going to die before it happens. And a lot of the things that you have mentioned, like the innovation fund, we don't have access for many reasons, because there is always someone polluting more than we do. So we don't have a lot of time. Of course, you are cordially invited to stay with us at the cocktail and to discuss further with our members, but please give the message to your colleagues that the ETS review is also too late. As it is announced, we need a short-term review. There are clear solutions that we have proposed on the simplification for small emitters. And also, we are not the only ones asking for just stop the clock for the free allocations in 2026. It's very important for us and for our industry. So please take it into account. And then just a logistic point. So first, I would like to thank MEP Gualmini, our chair, who has hosted again. And please be back in 1 year, so it will be the 1st and the 2nd of December for the ceramic days, and we will send a save the date. And now you are all cordially invited by the EPCF and by Cerame-Unie to join us to the Residence Palace for the evening reception. So please don't get lost in the meantime. Stay with us. We know a shortcut to go to Schumann, so please stay with all the people from our team. And I sincerely thank my team for all the support that they have given and the team of Elisabetta Gualmini. Thank you.
Okay, see you. Okay.